Hi everyone, today we're gonna talk about Express Entry. In the beginning, we're gonna quickly summarize how Express Entry system works, and then at the end of our presentation, we're gonna demonstrate a few different scenarios and talk about the criteria that affect your points in the Express Entry system.
So we can summarize Express Entry application into two steps. First step, candidates create an Express Entry profile according to their criteria, which we will talk about later in this presentation. In the second step, applicants upload their necessary documents into their profiles and send them to be assessed to the Government of Canada.
Now we're gonna quickly talk about the requirements of Express Entry system. So these are everything that you get points from. So you get points from your age, skilled work experience, education, language level, and if you have a sibling living in Canada as a permanent resident or citizen, you get extra points for that too. And lastly, if you have a job offer which is supported with labor market impact assessment, which we call LMIA, you get extra points for that too.
After receiving invitation to apply, candidates have 60 days to upload their documents to the system. And the processing time for the Express Entry application is 6 months.
There are three programs that you can send your application from in the Express Entry system. The first one is the Federal Skilled Worker Program. The second one is Canadian Experience Class. And the third one is Federal Skilled Trades Program. So to be able to apply from the Federal Skilled Worker, you need to have at least CLB 7 level of your language. You need to have your education credential assessment report for your foreign degrees, and you need to have skilled work experience, which has to be at least 1 year full-time. Full-time means at least 30 hours a week, and in total you need to have 1,560 hours continuous work experience, and obviously this experience should be anything that falls under NOC 0A or B category. You also need to show your proof of funds to be able to apply.
For the Canadian Experience Class, the criteria is the same. You still need to provide your language results and your education credentials from a designated institution. What makes this class different from Federal Skilled Worker class is, for Canadian Experience Class, you need to have at least 1 year of Canadian work experience, and obviously this work experience needs to be under NOC 0A or B. This work experience can be either full-time or equal amount of part-time. Your work experiences you gained during your studies in Canada doesn't count under this category.
Now we're going to discuss about how you can increase your points. Obviously you can't make any change with your age, so as you age after 30, you get less and less points from the age category. But what you can do is you can improve your language skills. If you have taken IELTS General and if you didn't get a score that makes you eligible to apply, maybe you can try CELPIP next time and see which one you score better and focus on that specific exam particularly. Other than this, you can focus on increasing your education level. So if you only have a bachelor's degree, maybe you can consider a master's degree, or even you can consider studying some programs in Canada. Obviously that makes a huge difference because the study in Canada and work experience in Canada brings a lot of additional points. If you haven't received your education credential assessment for your foreign studies, you can get that one to increase your points as well. And you can also look into gaining some skilled work experience in Canada, because obviously the biggest points that you can get would be by studying and working in Canada. And the last thing that you can do is trying to receive a provincial nominee certification. Every province has their own rules, so for that one you need to look into your options and see which province you would be interested and focus on the criteria of that one particularly.
To give you a better understanding on how much each criteria affect your Express Entry profile points, we created a couple of scenarios to discuss. In the first case, we compare two Express Entry candidates, and the age range for both candidates are between 20 and 29, which gets the highest points for this criteria. For both candidates, the education is bachelor's degree, and these candidates both have skilled work experience 3 years outside of Canada. So the only difference in these candidates are their IELTS general training points. First candidate scored 7 points for each ability, and the second candidate scored the highest range. For the first candidate, the Express Entry profile point is 378, and the second one's point is 441. So as you can see, the language ability makes a huge difference in calculating those points.
Now in the second scenario, we focused on the education. As you can see, the age is still the same between 20 and 29, which brings you the highest points for each category. Now we changed the education, so the first candidate's education is just a bachelor's degree, and the second candidate's education is bachelor's degree plus 1 year college education in Canada. For the skilled work experience, we put 3 years for both candidates, and for the IELTS general scores, again we put 7.5 from each ability for both candidates. So the only difference, as you can see, is the education. The first candidate has bachelor's degree, and the second candidate has 1 year Canadian college education. So as you can see, the CRS score for the first candidate is 390, whereas the second one is 425. As you can see, Canadian education brings you a lot of points, so this is definitely something that you should consider if you're looking for an option to increase your points.
In the third scenario, we focused on the education again, but this time instead of obtaining a diploma or a certificate from a Canadian college, the second candidate got a master's degree from their own country. Again, the age, skilled work experience, and the IELTS general training score is the same for both candidates, but this time with the master's degree, second candidate's Express Entry profile score stays at 417. When we go back to the previous one, as you can see, with the college education on top of the bachelor's degree, this candidate's score is 425, whereas when you get a master's degree in your own country, your score stays at 417. So this tells us getting a diploma or certificate in Canada has better impact on your Express Entry profile score.
So now in the fourth scenario, we focused on the skilled work experience. Again, the age is between 20 to 29. Education for both candidates is just a bachelor's degree. The skilled work experience for the first candidate is 1 year, whereas the second candidate is 3 years. And we kept the IELTS general scores at 8 this time. As you can see, the first candidate scores 413, but with 2 more years of skilled work experience, the second candidate scores 438. Obviously, having more work experience brings you more points, but one thing that you need to be careful about here is while getting that work experience, you need to make sure your age still stays within the same category, because you might end up being in a situation where you increase your points from work experience, but you might decrease your points from your age as you age older.
Okay, for the second part of our presentation, we discussed how each criteria impacts your Express Entry profile score. If you have further questions and if you want to discuss your specific scenario with us, you can always reach us from info@roottocanada.com, or you can fill out our free assessment form in our website www.roottocanada.com. So that's it for today. See you in our next video.
Bye.